be seen on this fine Sunday morning. It's absolutely freezing. Haylor
Oh yeah.
says afternoon here from the cold north. I don't know where you are, but it's probably cold where you are based on that comment.
The
It's
cold
freezing
north.
here. It's absolutely freezing here. It was like 20 degrees this morning when I went to the gym.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That's too cold.
Yeah, just
Once it
brutal.
dips below 30, it's just like, why? Why are you
Yeah,
doing that?
I think 35 even is like, okay, we're uncomfortable now. If you're like 40 or above, I'm okay.
Yeah, fair. Fair.
I'm okay. But like if I need multiple layers, it's just not good.
It's just not it.
Nah, dude. And like just remember at like when we were kids playing sports in the cold. Well, not as much you because you're in Virginia. I mean, it does get cold there. Don't get me
Oh
wrong.
no, I trust me. When
But I used to play baseball in like 15-degree weather.
we had baseball tryouts in February, I was like, "What are we doing?"
Yeah. Like soccer matches and it's like 20 degrees or less with a wind chill like 10 degrees. Can't even move.
It's so
But
stupid.
but it's amazing because when you're a kid, it's like, especially if you love it,
Yeah.
it's like not cold. But like if you're a parent watching it, it's like brutal.
No, I was always cold. I don't care if I was watching, playing, I was freezing my ass off. Especially baseball, when you're trying to swing and you hit the ball not on the barrel, your hands just start screaming.
Yeah, they like ring.
They literally ring for the entire game. They're
Yeah.
just like, "Ow." Oiven,
Yeah.
good morning. Hillior, my mother's in here.
Aylor.
Good morning.
Um, yeah, I went
Dermot.
to a game. I went to my cousin's son's game probably like last weekend,
Yeah.
and the temperature was like 38, but it was so windy. It may be the coldest I've ever been watching, and I was like, I just wish I was playing because
You'd
just
be a little
standing
bit
there is
warmer.
so brutal. Yeah,
Yeah.
so brutal.
Yeah. Oiven, how cold does it get where you're at? Like like when it's cold, how cold? I'm curious. Ross, what's going on?
And Aylor, where are you? Where's the cold north? North of the wall?
Shane, what's up? Um, is that a reference to something?
That's Game of Thrones.
Knew it was Game of Thrones, dude. I had a
Yeah.
feeling. God. All right. Look,
Have you
let's
not
jump right
watched
into
Game of
it.
Thrones?
No, I didn't watch it.
All right, well, let me tell you something.
Oh God.
I know you're not into like the fantasy mystical stuff. You got to watch the show. It's just absurd. It's absurd. And you know what? I'm jealous of you that you haven't been through it yet because you don't even know what you're missing. Like you have no idea what you're in for if you actually embark on this journey.
Well, I watched the first 3 episodes and I was confronted with several swinging genitalia. So, that's
Oh,
kind of
isn't
what
that the best part?
that's kind of what turned me away.
Nah, dude, you got to do it. Swinging
Oh my
genitalia. I don't remember that in the first few, but clearly you do.
No, you don't.
No,
Really.
I don't think so. I saw somebody get
You were
beheaded in the first few.
Yeah, no, I remember the blonde lady got R-worded. Not R-worded, but that was it. That's all I remember was the her and the big guy hooked up. That was it.
Mm.
That was it. So,
Yeah, I think
um,
it's time to revisit that for you.
Oiven goes, "Not too cold anymore, maybe negative 20 Celsius last year."
I don't even know what the conversion of that is.
Global warming, bro. Um, Hannah says the show ended so badly though. That's what I heard. I heard they did it just to do it the last season.
Uh, well, I think there was some turmoil with the writers, and it seemed like they kind of rushed through it. But at the end of the day, it's the journey, Kyle, not the destination.
But what if the
And Hannah,
destination
it's all
sucks?
about the
Why would I
journey
even do the journey?
because that's what it's all about.
Why would I
When
even
people talk about that show, they don't really. I mean, yeah, you can say the ending wasn't great, but there's like specific episodes that are just you'll never forget
Hmm.
in the
All
first
right.
like couple seasons.
It's the most watched television show of all time. I do know that.
It'll never change either. Like people just still watch it. And then they came out with House of the Dragon, which is the newer version, and that one's really good too. That's coming back in 2024.
All right,
Late
I'll tell you.
2024. It's like takes 2 years for them to make a damn season. It's absurd.
I'll tell you what. I'll give it a shot. All right, I'll
Yep.
give it another shot. How about that? Fair?
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, let's jump into this, Steve. Yesterday, Liverpool against Man City, early kickoff, which I'm still so pissed about. I'm more pissed about that than I am any other aspect of the game. The fact that they took a primetime game and put it first thing in the morning, at least for us. And I know no one over there likes 12:30 kickoffs either. And what did you see in the game?
In terms of
Anything. What did you notice? How are you feeling watching the game?
I think it was to be expected after the break with what, one training session, that it almost looked like, especially that first half, we didn't look great in the first half, but neither team, generally speaking, for the whole match, took many risks. It was almost like they showed each other a lot of respect. Um, I think the second half, people turned up a bit more. It was a bit more energetic, a little bit more end to end, which is kind of what you expect with a City Liverpool match, just like chaos. We didn't really see that in the first half too much. Um, but they looked tired in the beginning, and then I think they all kind of just turned up a bit more at the end.
You think they were a little bit cagey to start the match? Because that's what I noticed. I noticed they were very hesitant to play their game. They kind of let Man City have possession. There was so much space. That's the main thing I noticed is that when Man City had possession, there was no closing down of the ball. It seemed like Man City, every single time they had possession, they got into the final third, and then we were forced to do some like desperate defending, which to be fair, we did pretty well. I mean, I think we actually defended fairly well. Allison did have to work a few times, but I just thought Man City were way better on the day. And now, of course, especially in the first half, when we get into the second half, I do think we played better. We adjusted the game plan. And when Klopp made the substitutions, that was the game changer for me. I mean, that completely changed the game, and that led to the goal ultimately.
Yeah, the when Gravenberch came on, I thought that was big. I thought that changed the game. It's good to see a player like that where we bring him in, right? He's kind of exciting. He's doing pretty well in Europe, but you still don't know what you have with him. To see him get some minutes in a game like this at the Etihad and to change the game, I think was really promising. So that was one of the high notes for me
Yep.
from yesterday. Yeah, it was definitely a tale of two halves. The first half, it was almost like, what's going on here? Like we we look like we're gonna lose this. And then the second half, I think it kind of shifted in our favor a little bit. I would say that based on the fact that no team really took major risks, um, they showed each other a lot of respect. I would say that the draw was deserved. I couldn't say that either team really deserved a win. But in the second half, we did start pressing more. We gave them a lot less time on the ball, counter
Yes.
pressing, higher up the pitch, which is what Man City was doing to us in the first half. I feel like
Exactly.
at times,
Exactly.
like they were
Yeah.
all over Allison, right? Like Haaland was on the 18-yard box or closer, pretty much
Several.
at all times. So it was like we just traded positions first half and second half. But I think Klopp at halftime probably said, we can get something from this. It was almost like in the beginning with the early kickoffs, we're never really great at those times either, right? So it was like, all right, let's just see what they're coming with. Ben, don't break. Obviously, we let in the goal. Allison got a glove on that. Another day,
He
he could
did.
have pushed it wide. But that's the difference between Haaland and another striker you face on a match day is just how quick he gets it in and out of his feet.
It's
Also,
not even so much Allison, sorry to interrupt, but it really wasn't. It was more so how Ake got through the defense.
that's exactly what I was going to say. You don't expect Ake to pull a Matip and carve up a couple midfielders and then make a pass, right?
Yeah.
And we'll talk about Joel Matip. Legendary performance. He
I
was
thought he
immense
was
yesterday.
I thought he was the man of the match.
Yeah, look, I when you see Kanate on the bench and Matip starting, it's always like, what are we missing here? Like, is Kanate fit? I mean, he suited up, but maybe he was tired. I don't know, but um, we got to extend Joel, especially assuming we'll get another center back. He'll get more rest. The injuries don't seem to be too much of an issue anymore.
Right.
Knock on wood. Um, but if he can put in performances like that, we got to keep him because
I
he
wanna
can't be
keep
he
Matip
can't
too.
be on a high wage.
Let us know in the chat, extend or let him walk, Joel Matip. I think Joel Matip, he just continues to get better with age. I said it in my, it was either my match preview or match reaction, but I continue to be impressed with him when he plays. He's so good. He's so good. But I think we're, as fans, just almost ready for that next young player to come in and just show us something different. Kind of like when we signed Van Dyke, we were just like, let's get someone new in. Um, but Joel Matip is just like, I'm not going anywhere, guys. You're gonna have to consider me a starter until I leave the club. Because every time Joel Matip plays, I'm impressed. I mean, look at the first 2 minutes of the game where Man City put 2 crosses into the box. He cleared both of them. It's like immediately just like dialed into the game. No mistakes early. And he's a veteran too. So, and on the front of signing a new defender, we're linked with this guy from Brazil, this 20-year-old left-footed defender. So I'll have to look that up. But
Yeah, I
we're
don't know
getting
anything
a
about that.
Hannah says keep Joel. Oyvind says retire. Ross says extend. And
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand why we wouldn't keep him. It makes no sense. He's probably he was probably our best player yesterday. Trent gets man of the match because he was electric and world class, but Matip is just you're right, Kyle. He's like, I'm not going anywhere, guys. And if a Champions League final was tomorrow, Matip's starting.
it's a good
If we
point.
played in a final tomorrow, Matip's starting. I'm not saying that he's better than Kanate. Um, but man, he is some player. He's getting better. And he doesn't seem
He
to
is.
be like he
He
can
is.
keep up pace wise too. It's almost like he knows when to preserve his energy. He knows when to really book it back and get back, and he
Right.
knows when he can kind of just coast a little bit. And that's the veteran in him. Um, but yeah, no qualms with him.
You know what else I
Unbelievable
noticed with
performance
him?
yesterday.
You know what else I noticed with him? He is so good on the ball. He gets better on the ball and he's more confident on the ball every year. Like last year, 2 years ago, we just saw him make those runs forward, but I'm legitimately seeing him hold up play with the ball and like pick out passes, not just turn past to Van Dyke, turn past to Trent, turn past to Endo or McAllister or whatever, who we'll get into in a second. I'm actually seeing Joel Matip link play.
Yeah,
Guys, and I didn't know this, but when he was at Schalke, did you know he played CDM?
did not.
Neither did I.
That's a big
Now
CDM.
it all makes sense.
Dude, he made a run yesterday, one of those forward dribbles that he makes, like 20 yards up the pitch, dumped it off to maybe Salah or Trent on the right, and then made a run in behind. Did you
I
see
saw
that?
that.
That was the best run we had all day. I was yelling for someone to hit him. Imagine if Joel got in behind the final line and put a shot on goal.
I
He would have been a Liverpool hero.
I'm laughing thinking about it because of what it would have looked like. But honestly, it would have been the best thing I've ever seen.
Alor says, I'm a stat guy and try to read as much as possible. I'm going to be the devil's advocate and say that without the goal, Trent had a poor game. Okay, so Trent had,
I agree.
listen,
I agree.
Trent was first or second in interceptions, duels won, goals, and crosses.
There
So
was
if you're
one
looking at the
goal.
stats, I think you would have seen those. Right, it's one stat. But crosses, interceptions, and I think duels won or something like that. first or second in the match. I mean, those are stats that I think are important. Doku's tough, right? Like, it's okay. You play with a guy like that that's shifty. um, we know Trent's not the best defender, but it didn't look like anybody else was going to score yesterday. So shout out to Trent. I'm okay with the performance.
Okay. All right. I know a lot of people are. Um, Oyvind says they just targeted him, which they absolutely did. I mean, Julian Alvarez didn't touch the ball in the first half. And every time he touched the ball in the second half, it was terrible.
Yeah.
They gave the ball to Doku every chance they got. And they just tried to let him cook. And I don't know, man. Maybe he's scary looking, like he's intimidating on the ball, but he's actually not that efficient or clinical. And maybe that's why I think Trent played him poorly. But I don't know. If everyone else sees something else, that's fine. Credit to you. I just felt like maybe Trent's just not as quick as him, and maybe that's why he looked bad. But ultimately, Doku didn't score, and he had nothing to do with the goal that actually happened. So who knows? Maybe Trent did play well.
There was one more. There was, I think, 1.5, we'll call it, moments where Doku's dancing like made an impact on an actual chance for me. And the first one was Trent. He had cut back in on his right foot like 4 or 5 times straight, and then on this one he went to the touchline. He went to his left foot and crossed in a low cross, and that was a dangerous moment. But other than that, maybe one other time, I felt like, look, Doku, he's good. There's no doubt he's good. But at the end of the day, like you said, he wasn't involved in the goal. I would put that on Allison and a decent finish from Haaland. I mean, Allison got a glove on it. On another day, he
Well,
might have put that wide. I
that
thought,
reminds me. I'm sorry again to interrupt, but that reminds me. Trent got dribble passed by Ake in that.
right. I don't think anybody expected that. Two people got dribbled past. So who was the other one? Matip?
It was it Matip or God? Who was it? Was it Sobos? It wasn't Soboslai.
Nobody expected that. That was a good piece
Garland?
of play by Ake. Like, those things happen. Matip does that 4 times a game
He
to
does.
midfielders.
Fair. He does.
So if we're going to crucify Trent for that, then whoever else was involved, whoever that second man was, deserves slack too. And I don't want to do that.
All right, good point. I'm just like when Trent scored the goal, I literally yelled out that I was happy. Don't get me wrong, because it was a great finish. Oh my God, what a finish. But I was like, you've been terrible all game, and then you're going to score like that. But I don't know. Maybe I was just kind of starstruck by how Doku played, and that just made me think that Trent was playing poorly when he really wasn't.
I
'Cause
think
Doku,
Doku's very similar to, I was telling you this before the show, Grealish.
see,
There's a lot of movement, there's a lot of feints and fakes. There's not a ton of final product. And it's no surprise that Trent, going up against an agile winger, isn't going to look great. Like, it's no surprise.
yeah,
So this is nothing. Things that happened yesterday for Trent defensively aren't anything new. But anyways, he's man of the match for a reason.
it's the goal.
And the other numbers that I pointed out.
I think it's obvious it's the goal, but
In
all right.
interceptions, crosses, duels won.
Yeah.
Doku's tough though. I give him credit. Before the game, I was like, oh, we're not gonna have to worry about Doku. But hey,
Yeah.
prove me
So
wrong.
before we go into other players, I just want to know, like you said, you're happy with the draw that Eddie had. What were you expecting from the match going in?
A draw.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's always a chance that it could be 4-0 City. Like, you just never know. And
Yeah.
and I've seen Allison against City be a little sketchy at times. Like, what was that match? We got crushed.
It was 4-1 Stadium was
where he
empty.
like gave it right to Foden that time.
Dude, that was all. That was, I think, though, that was literally the game after his dad passed, I think.
Mm. But in any event, like we've seen that before from Allison. So look, if he doesn't slip there, do they score a goal? Like maybe,
Yeah,
maybe.
I don't
There
know.
was the foul on him earlier. People will say, some people say it's not a foul. Some people say it's soft. It's definitely soft. But when the goalkeeper's going up to catch the ball, you just can't pull his arm. You can't touch his arm.
See,
So here's what I liked about the scenario.
I don't even think that is why the foul was given. I think the foul was given because, oh wait, no, never mind. I'm thinking of two different scenarios where like Akanji like backed into him and made him roll into the goal when he was holding the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
That's the right call. But also, I was happy with VAR for that moment because the referee called the foul. And then at that point, it has to be clear and obvious to overturn it, which is impossible to do. If he didn't call the foul, then it goes to VAR maybe, and then VAR is supposed to determine is this a foul or not, rather than do we have enough evidence to say that it's not. So I thought VAR worked well in that instance.
Yeah. And then the hamstring for Allison.
And Jota's out too. I don't know the extent of Jota's. I would imagine it's worse than Allison's. I think Allison should be okay, but you guys let me know.
He went down with that calf injury against Norwich a few seasons ago, and he was out for a while. I mean, it's Adrian or it's Kelleher. I think Kelleher would be in goal.
Yeah, it's not a no-brainer.
Yeah, but God, man, we can't lose Allison. Cannot lose Allison. Tony, what's going on?
Tony says you can't touch the goalkeeper. Yeah, at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. Especially when he's going up for a ball.
Yeah.
Like a bump here and there, whatever, right? That's part of the sport. But when he's going up for the ball and your hand is on his arm, it's just not allowed. It's that simple.
Nunez, or Nick Red says Nunez is Suarez 2.0 in terms of naughtiness. Yeah, did you see him trolling Pep after the game?
Yeah, what was that about? What was the reasoning behind that?
I actually don't know. I really don't know. If anyone can tell us, I'd really appreciate it. But I saw it, and I just love that because I don't like Pep. So
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, if you're Nunez, I get that you have like a temper. You're professional, the stakes are high. You want to chirp a little bit, that's fine. But like after Klopp gets in your face and tells you to like back up, you have to stop at that point.
fair.
He just wouldn't stop. It's like he has this switch, and when it's on, he just can't turn it off. It's like, sorry, but I don't think you've earned the right to really like throw a temper tantrum like that. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know. I just thought it was too much. Like to a coach.
Especially at Guardiola. You know?
Right. If you
Like,
want to go at Silva, sure. But
oh
like
God.
to the other coach, like he's not even playing.
Dude, Silva, oh my God, I can't stand that dude.
He was really good in the first half yesterday.
I know. I don't care if he was good. I just can't stand him as a person.
Yeah, I know. I don't think any of us can. I don't think some City fans can. He is rough. He's what we call a bad egg.
Yeah, he is a bad egg. But he's good. He's really good. I want to move on to someone who's been struggling over the past few games, and that's Alexis McAllister. Again, put in the 6 where he doesn't play. And just another game where I saw McAllister making mistakes. And at this point, dude, I'm not going to be critical of him anymore because he's being played in a position that he can play, but that's not his position. So I just feel like at a certain point, you got to just put Endo in there. Let Endo play. But I think Klopp doesn't want to waste one position. He wants to keep the quality that he has in McAllister, Soboslai, and Jones or Gravenberch. Like, he's like, look, I can double up here. I can get the quality of McAllister and he can play the 6. But I think at the end of the day, you're losing more than you gain by doing that because McAllister can't be his true self going forward and he can't create like he normally did at Brighton. And he's also not offering you anything defensively. Well, I mean, I wouldn't say anything. He puts in tackles, but he gave away a few free kicks around the area. He lost possession a few times. And he just doesn't look as confident as a true 6.
It's 100% right. You're spot on there. I don't even have any beefs with him. Like, I'm not even going to critique him. It's not his
Yeah.
position. He he still, I think he still puts in a shift.
It's not a work ethic thing. I mean,
Yeah.
McAllister, when he's on the pitch, he's not lazy. He's putting in tackles. The fouls he's given away is because he's trying to make tackles, which is great. You know, he's kind of Fabinho in that way. Fabinho was reckless sometimes with his tackles. And Thiago too, but we'll probably never see him play for the club again. And it's just McAllister. When I see McAllister progressing the ball, it's like I'm laying eyes on a completely different player. It's like he's playing with one hand tied behind his back. He's like, "Oh, I can't go forward. I have to stick here and distribute the ball." But that's not what he wants to do. He wants to just push. And so he's playing this mental game. He's like, when you're not you know this. When you can't play freely, it messes up your mental side of the game. So I think that's why he messes up.
He looked a little tired too, I think.
Someone was saying earlier in the chat that he couldn't keep his eyes open or something.
Yeah, it's first of all just coming off the break, early kickoff, out of position, high stakes match. Probably the most important club match he's ever played. It's
Yeah.
crazy to think about that, right? Probably the most like yeah, it might be the most important club match he's ever played.
I never thought about it that way. Yeah.
Right, and like you're right, he's got quality, and on the ball he still looks okay to me. It's just the defending piece. So if we could just find a way to remove that. But look, it's a good problem to have to say, we got Endo, when's he going to come in? And then of course we probably have our eyes on some defensive midfielder prospects too. So it's not going to make or break, I think, the season for us, but we're a third of the way through the season now, getting towards the turn of the year. It's hopefully they have a defensive midfielder in mind. But Endo, look, I don't think Endo's the guy to start 35 games for you at defensive midfield. I think he's a little bit older. I think he'll put in a shift for you. I like him as a sub, but if we could have Soboslai, McAllister, and then a formal DM in there, and then bring on Endo and Gravenberch and Elliott in the second half if we need him, like I'm cool with that.
There, right there. I want you to back up. Have you said a true 6 or what did you say? The terminology you used.
Defensive midfielder.
That's Endo, right? So I know you said he might not be the guy to start 35 games for you. But I said this. I would rather have a true 6 who knows the position than a guy who's playing at 75% of his capacity because he doesn't want to make a mistake in that position. Endo knows what he's doing, right? Regardless of if he's a seasoned veteran, or which he is, but he's not a seasoned veteran in the Premier League. He comes from Stuttgart. He hasn't played the top quality teams like Man City. I get that. So I think it's just a trust thing. Like Klopp sees the quality in McAllister. He's like, dude, you can do it. You're fine. If you make mistakes, that's fine. I know you're good. But then I go back to the eye test and I'm watching Endo. I don't see Endo make the same mistakes. So for me, it's more of like, why is Endo here? Is it strictly to have that option, right? Like, does Klopp value McAllister's quality over Endo's ability to play the position?
Yesterday, yes. In a match like that, yes. And I think it was the right decision, if I'm being honest. And then last week when we did match previews, I told you, I said I wouldn't be surprised if Jones played.
Right?
That's the
I,
X factor here.
I
But
knew
I
that.
think I don't know who we play next in the league. Um,
It's a good question.
but anyways, if it's not like a huge opponent, I think you might see Endo start there. Because it would be nice to see Endo playing the six and then Soboslai and McAllister just playing the midfield roles.
We play Fulham. Tricky.
Perfect. Perfect. This is a perfect game to go with that midfield. I think.
So
Endo in, Jones out. Give Jones a break. He's been battling some injuries and whatnot.
So Endo, McAllister, Soboslai.
Yeah, that's what we
And
need to
then
see.
and I also another thing I wanted to go back to Diogo Jota. Starting Diogo Jota. I know Hilor
Aylor,
Aylor, is that how you say it? Okay. I believe that more.
I think.
Aylor says it. I don't get why Jota started that game. Okay, I'm going with speed with Diaz, even though Jota has speed. Don't you think Jota's more effective in the middle of the pitch? He needs to be in front of goal to be effective. I don't think that Jota's as effective on the left side. So, what do you think the reason was to start Jota? Do you
Well, I
think it was
picked Jota last week.
do you think it was strictly an international, like the South American players were exhausted?
No. I think you don't get many chances in these matches. We had 3 shots on goal. And you need someone who's more clinical. And Jota's probably our best finisher. You
Wait,
could argue
Jota
that.
had 3 shots on goal?
No, our team yesterday.
Oh.
We didn't get a ton of chances, right?
Yeah.
Like you need someone that can put the ball in the back of the net. And
So,
Jota's clinical. He's probably our best finisher. Again, I think you could argue that, but in my opinion, he's top 1 or 2.
God, you're
And
so right. I didn't
and you
even think
bring
about it.
Diaz on to change the game, and he does that a lot, right? Like it, it's preference at this point. Like if you want Diaz to play, sure, um, in like I think in a different matchup. But if you're only going to get a handful of chances, like Jota can make something out of nothing. He can score with his head. We've seen him score. He scored a screamer a couple weeks ago. He can finish with both feet. So that's why he did it. Um, and I was okay with that. He's hurt now, so we'll see Diaz again. But I get why he put Jota in, and I think that was the reason.
You're absolutely right. And this is why I keep you around, Steve, because I didn't even think about it as a matter of we're not going to have many chances. So any chance we do get, we need to have the personnel that are going to be able to convert that. Because look, Diaz has not been great this season. I think Diaz, the first season Diaz came in, and he was hurt pretty much most of last season. He was very effective. How many goals does Diaz have this year? 2?
I'm actually going to disagree with you. I think he's been pretty damn good this year. He was our best player the first couple weeks.
All right, look.
But like time just flies by, and then the thing happened with his dad, and then you have all these international breaks, and you're like, wait, is he having a good year? He is. He's been great.
Well, yeah, he does have
But
3
Jota was
goals.
red hot too. So yeah, Diaz, they've both been solid.
Okay. All right, fair. All right, let me just take that back.
Also,
So,
he was in where? Where did he play during the break? South America?
yeah,
It's kind
like
of a hike.
literally across the world.
Yeah, it's kind of far. It's pretty far.
Yeah.
Uh,
Shout out to Anfield Uncle Rods.
like you see Diaz, he's skillful. He can get by guys. He's dangerous. But I feel like Jota can just get a shot off and make something out of nothing.
Yeah,
I think
I've
Diaz
seen
is more
that.
likely to get on the end of a low whipped cross. You know when he slides in feet first and just like taps it in?
Yeah.
Like you're not going to get that from Jota. You'll get that from Diaz, but you're also not going to get many opportunities like that in a game against City.
It's a good point. All right, so that makes sense as to why he started Jota. Um, I love that he started Nunez. Okay, when I made my starting 11 prediction, I wanted Darwin, but I thought he would start Gakpo because he'd need someone to come into midfield and pick up possession. But as it turns out, we didn't have possession that much. So he needed someone who was going to be able to just like create problems when we did get a ball into the box. So that ended up being a good choice. I do want to move to Curtis Jones, as Aylor was saying here, and this is what bothers me about the general Curtis Jones consensus, and it's that when Curtis Jones is playing well, everyone agrees, oh, we got someone here. Curtis Jones, don't sleep on Curtis Jones. He's really good. He's a great option. And the second he has a game where he wasn't bad, he just didn't do anything. Like he was not involved in the game. People are saying he's not good enough for Liverpool. And to me, that's just unfair because it's Curtis Jones has been phenomenal for the last 6 months. He ended the season great and he started the season great. He got suspended. Maybe that ruined his momentum a little bit. That remains to be seen. I think it's too early to judge it on one game after. Curtis Jones is a great player, Steve. And I think most people who watch the games will agree. And I think you agree. I think he is now matured enough to where he's strong as hell. He can hold off defenders really well. And he holds possession much better than a lot of the midfielders.
He's the most calm midfielder that we have under pressure.
Yes. 100%.
He doesn't panic. And I'll tell you what, the difference between Curtis Jones 2 seasons ago and then in 2023 is his work rate. He puts in an absolute shift every time. And he's not scared by the big moment at all. And I think we're lucky to have him. And I thought he was fine yesterday. Look, he's coming back off an injury and the break and thrown into the lineup in a big match. And like, he just looked like he belonged there, in my opinion. There were times in the past where you would have said, oh boy, Jones. When I saw him on the starting lineup yesterday, I just wasn't even worried.
Yeah, it doesn't faze me anymore.
Exactly. And that's good. That's good for us. Because we had all these question marks about the midfield coming in, the midfield revamp. You lose Hendo, Fabinho, Milner, Ox, Keita. Jones came on strong last season. It's good to know that that wasn't necessarily a fluke.
Yeah.
Right? He can play at the highest level. And I respect him. I love him.
Yeah, no, I really do like him. I think now he's past that threshold where, and I know you're going to know what I'm saying, where we have a bunch of young guys, right? And then veterans. And the young guys in the back of your head, you don't really think of them as actual depth. You just think of them as like promising talent, right? Like Bajcetic, right now, he has not passed that threshold for me as like a viable option in the midfield. He's just a very young talent that we have. Curtis Jones passed that threshold last year for me, whereas now I'm like, Jones is a player. Jones is gonna get in and play. Another example for me right now is Harvey Elliott. Harvey Elliott is right at that threshold for me, whereas like I think last year I fully thought of him as just like a depth guy. And he actually played more last year. I feel like he hasn't been playing as much this year, but he's probably featured in every game. But you get what I'm trying to say. I want to go to Tony Madden here and saying the international break disrupts the flow of the team. And there's a give and take with that because when does Liverpool normally have their biggest struggles of games, Steve?
What do you mean? I don't understand the question.
When do we lose the most matches throughout the season?
I feel like I don't know what you're getting at, but maybe January?
December through February. Yep. When we had that run a few years ago where we lost 3 straight at home, January. We struggled last year, December through February. Now, tons of variables at play. But I also think sometimes the international break sucks for us. And also as a general thought, it sucks because you think, oh, it is breaking up momentum. oh, it is exhausting these players. But I think mentally for the players, it's a great break for them because they're not worried about tactics doing international break for them is fun. They go and they play with people they know of the same culture. It's very relaxed. They're not getting, well, are they getting paid? I don't think they're getting paid.
They must make something. I have
They
no idea, but sure,
doesn't
I'm
matter.
sure they do.
The point is it's almost like hanging out with your friends and messing around versus like you're at work and you need to perform. So I think it comes as a welcome break to these players. Um, so there's that. I just think this is the time of year where we really need to dial in and perform. And I think we have the personnel to do it now because this is the long run of the season where you're playing 3 games every week for like 3 months. And you need young, fresh legs to do that. And maybe that's what in the past has caused us to lose is we've had tired legs, but now we got the freshest legs in the Premier League, I feel like. And it's going to be exciting. I just wanted to throw that in there because it had me thinking like maybe it is a welcome break for some of these players. Sorry, I was reading a comment here. And Shayna bringing up a good point here. Steve, are we missing Andy Robbo?
I don't think we missed him yesterday. We love Robbo. We want him in every match. Sure, but I was fine with Costas yesterday. I thought he looked pretty calm as well.
I do.
The one
He
thing
had
I will say about him is he looked fired up yesterday and ready to play. Okay, I was benched recently. There's Robertson that's out. This is my opportunity to continue to improve and show that I'm worthy. The only problem I had with him yesterday was when he fights for headers, when he gets forward like 10, 15 yards too far forward and jumps up in the air to contest a header that he's never going to win, he leaves a gap in behind. And then he's forced to rush back. Virgil has to slide over and cover, and the whole system's thrown off.
right.
So I just wish he would kind of know his role a little bit more, like calm down the adrenaline and just stay back. Of course,
Yeah.
we want people to fight for headers and put pressure on the ball, but he's never won a header in his career. So
Yeah.
it's like I don't know what Klopp tells him, or I'm not a coach, I'm not a tactical manager, but sometimes I wish he would just say, okay, this guy's going to win the header, but I'm just going to be right on his back as soon as he does.
Maybe that's why he always has black eyes because he's going up for these headers and just getting elbowed in the face.
He's never won a header.
Oh, that's so funny.
So I wish
Oh,
he would
my-
just sit back a little bit and relax.
That's so funny, Steve, bro. And I also do want to bring up this black eye thing. Does Kostas Tsimikas always look like he has a black eye? I know it's just his genetics, guys. I know but he's got the biggest bags under his eyes that I've ever seen.
Yeah, he does.
Poor guy.
He just looks tired. Liz Golden, hi. I am in the hospital with a stroke. We're sorry to hear that, Liz. I hope you're okay.
Liz, I was wondering where you were. Are you okay? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, Liz.
Yeah, we're really sorry to hear that. Liz is a legend of this channel, so we'll say a prayer for you, Liz. I hope you're doing all right.
Oh my goodness. Everyone, please say a prayer for Liz. I was wondering if something I was like, did I say something to Liz? Because she's always here supporting the channel. But Liz, I'm very sorry to hear that. I'm glad you're okay, first off.
Yeah, we'll check in on you offline, Liz.
Yeah.
The Yeah, that was a curveball. Wasn't expecting that. Alor says Man City have officially changed their name to 115 FFP Charges FC. We talked about this all show last week, so if you didn't get a chance to watch the Sunday summary from last week, please go back and check it out. We can't get into that again, Kyle. We can't fall into that wormhole.
No. It's that wormhole is almost as bad as the Chelsea wormhole.
Oh,
yeah.
They have charges too now. They're under investigation as well.
Good. They should be. Jesus Christ.
And they got smacked by Newcastle yesterday.
See, I was so tired yesterday from getting up at 6:45 to watch this match that I fell asleep so early. I didn't have a chance to watch any of the highlights. Usually that's my favorite thing to do on Saturday night is watch all the highlights from the games, and I just couldn't do it. Fell asleep. Um, so yeah, Oyvind says I love the Chelsea talk. Look, I have a fun time too, but after a while, it's just like this is a Chelsea rant channel. So we were talking about something, and shout out to Anfield Rods for following us on Twitter. Dude, Twitter, I just gave up on Twitter. I go to Twitter for like the news, but I don't even run the Twitter account anymore. But if you do want to like reach out to the channel, that's a good way to do it. It's through Twitter. Doug, what's going on, bro? How you doing? How's the offspring? You doing all right?
Doug says great point yesterday. Yeah, Doug, look, if I think for most of us, of course we can win a match like that yesterday, but if you told me on Wednesday of last week, like you have the opportunity right now to take a point from the Etihad, I would have taken it. Because you don't want to give them the feeling that they're better than us. You also don't want to drop points. And especially coming off the break, they're undefeated at home, or like no, they haven't drawn or lost at home, and it was
We
23 matches or something. We broke that streak, so I'd take a draw all day.
Very good point. And I didn't even think about that until they said it at the end of the match, like Liverpool end their run. So ultimately, to me, that's a really good accomplishment for Liverpool. And like you said, it's away at the Etihad. Anytime you can go away from home in a top six side and get a result in this league against Man City, who's the best team in the world. Let's be real. Man City's the best team in the world right now. That's a success for me.
We have an interesting. So we have Lask on Thursday. Then we have Fulham, Sheffield, and Crystal Palace. That should be 9 points. It has to be 9 points.
Fulham, Sheffield, Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace is always a tricky one. Dude, Sheffield.
That's a 7:30 match.
We have another one?
Mm-hmm. Away. Or at 12:30. Sorry, it's 7:30 for us.
Guys,
yes, Kyle and I have to get up super early for this.
Why do we? Oh my God. Well, hold on. First, I just want to give a shout out to Oyvind. 29 months as a member. One of the OGs here. And I see 29 months. I'm like, oh, that's not a big deal. And then I realize that's a freaking year and a half or 2 years, 2.5 years, which is remarkable. So thank you, Oyvind, for always supporting the channel. You're here every live stream, literally every show. So I appreciate you.
Legend.
And I just
Doug,
want to.
not yet, Doug. Still waiting. A few more weeks.
I want to
probably.
look this up real quick, Steve. How many early kickoffs have Liverpool had compared to other teams?
It's like 14, and the next closest is like 6 or 7.
Okay.
Maybe
oh my
8.
God. Oh my God. Okay. So I'm going to share the stream or share the screen with everybody here. Steve, this is pretty crazy. Okay. So in 21-22, we won all of them, right? We had 5. 22-23, we had 6. Won none of them. This year, we've had 3, and we've won 2 of them. We've played 37 in, let's see. This is 1 day ago. So everyone knows. Everyone knows that Liverpool have this problem. All right. Maybe
so the numbers that I threw out, I think, were post-international break, the 13 or 14. I think that was like immediately after the break.
Mm-hmm.
So,
here you go. After international break. I just think this is a big deal, Steven, because it wasn't brought to my attention until someone put up the numbers. And I saw that we were like double the nearest team.
That's for yeah, but I think that's for after the international break. I think like the big disparity, the big gap.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's just screw it. I'm not going to get into it, but I do think that it's a big. I'm just going to come out and ask you, do you think there's any ill will behind it or strategy from the FA or the Premier League scheduling it?
I don't necessarily think the league is against Liverpool. We play within the rules. We aren't a dynasty, right? Like that would be Man City.
We're uh,
We're
we're we're as close to a dynasty as you can get without being a dynasty.
yeah, I mean we're a working man's club. We're a legendary club, but there's
We bring in tons of money to the league.
yeah, no, I don't think there. I think there's something. I don't know how they make these schedules. Like I just don't know. Is it something like Man City had to play this game too, right? Like there is the disparity overall, and I would like to know how that happens, but maybe it's truly random. Like I don't know. So it's definitely not ideal, and it's something to look at and think about. But I don't know if I wouldn't say that there's any like ill will behind it per se, because
Do
I
you
don't think
think?
you can hide those types of things.
Yeah,
Like
and
there
I
has to be a standardized process for how this goes, and
yeah,
maybe we've just been unlucky. But at the end of the day, a Man City Liverpool game should not be at that time, anyways.
I think that's where I'm coming from is just the sheer like uh volume, not volume, the sheer just like weight. There we go. Sheer weight of the game. Um, Great example is Eagles Chiefs Monday night primetime game. Exactly where that game should be. All right. Like everyone watches Monday Night Football for the most part. I mean, like, you know what I mean, here in the States. And it's a rematch of the Super Bowl. Man City Liverpool has been the biggest rivalry, mainly just because of the narrative surrounding it. You got Klopp, you got Pep, right? Man United, they have a new coach every year, so it's not the same, right? Uh, Liverpool, Everton. Everton is just a dumpster fire, so it's not the same. Man City and Liverpool have continuously been at the top of the Premier League. And when I say top, I don't mean actually 1 and 2. I just mean like they're the two best teams in the league. Okay, regardless of where they finish in the table. So you're right. What I do like that you said is that Man City had to play this game too. So maybe they were thinking like, oh, look, let's put them both early and see how they play. Maybe we'll get more entertainment out of the game that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know how. Again, I don't know how they make the decisions. But as an example, like we're playing Man United at 11:30, which I believe is on a Sunday, where it should be like
Right.
the NBC Game of the Week or whatever they call it, right?
No, you're right. That's what Man
So
City should have been. Man City Liverpool
should be
should
today at
be
11:30,
you took the words out of my mouth.
or
Today
that
at
would be
11:30.
4:30 UK time.
Yeah. Liz, we love you too. And my mother said it actually in here. Keep pushing. All right. Get better. I'm not sure how severe it is, but just keep pushing to get better. And we need you here. So you better come back. You better get back here soon, Liz. We need you here. We can't do it without you. Um, Tony says we play a disproportionate amount of early kickoffs compared to other teams. Manchester Police apparently requested the early kickoff to avoid any problems. And here, Tony, that's another good point. Like, there's also things that we don't grasp either, like that right there. Like an early kickoff might discourage people from as many people from drinking and causing issues. I don't know, crime. I don't know what the case is, but
Yeah, that's a good point.
yeah.
That's a good point, and that's totally valid too, Tony. Like the Manchester stuff, especially when it comes to like United, right? It's even more vicious when we play United.
Oh
So
yeah, it's really bad. Damien here says the Liverpool fans booing the national anthem. I always forget about that, and I don't know how it probably has a big impact over there, Steve. Thinking about like when people took a knee here for the national anthem and how big of an impact that had. I don't know.
Right, but
Not
that's not necessarily the club. Like I think there's a clear line between supporters and the organization of Liverpool.
right, right.
Like I would have to imagine and hope that the powers that be do not let the supporters influence how they treat the club. I would
Good
like to
point.
give those folks the benefit of the doubt that that doesn't come into play, but it is a good. It's interesting to think of.
Yeah, yeah, it absolutely is. Uh, I got a couple minutes here. We'll just kind of chit chat for the rest. But coming up, we got like you said, Lask, Fulham, and what do we have? Newcastle, and then do we play City again? No,
No,
Sheffield. You said
yeah.
Sheffield, Crystal Palace,
Then we
M-
have a
Man
Europa
United on
League
the
game
17th.
and Man United, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, Man United on the 17th. Then Arsenal, then Burnley. So Man United, Arsenal, back to back weeks. Um, and then Newcastle on New Year's Day. So some tough fixtures coming up, with the exception of we have like a run of 3 games of mid-table sides. It'll be
That has to be 9 points. It has to be 9 points.
yeah, especially looking at the table now. Um, Arsenal top of the league right now, 30 points, and I hate seeing Arsenal at top of the league more than I hate City.
Yeah, 100%.
I cannot stand seeing Arsenal at the top of the league because they are not that good.
They should have. They did not look good yesterday, and Brentford missed a basically an open net, a golden opportunity to score in that first half. Um, Good teams find a way to get it done. They're good. They're good. I mean, here's what I like to look at. I like to
They're
look at
a
goal
good team.
differential and goals against. I think that's a really important stat. And they are right there with Man City and Liverpool in those two categories.
You're
And
absolutely
that's
right.
very, very important. It's not like they're just scraping by. Like they have the
No.
same goal differential as us, and they don't let in a ton of goals. And they've played these big teams, right? They beat City.
Damn, you're just like putting me in a body bag right now. Everything you're saying is right.
But I'm with you. When you look at them on paper or when you watch them play, it's not the same vibe that you get when you see City. They're not. And people
What
give
is it?
Arteta praise. He was about to get fired a couple years ago. I don't know what it is, man. I don't know what it
Yeah,
is. I think they play well as a team.
I
But we'll see. Again, I told you last year. I said they're lucky Liverpool's having an off year, and I said they're not going to sustain this the whole year. It's too long of a season. We've seen Chelsea drop off, Tottenham drop off, Man United drop off. In this current day and age, there's only two teams that can go the distance. And until Arsenal does it, they're not one of those, in my
right.
opinion.
Well, yeah. I mean, to be one of the teams to go the distance, you have to actually go the distance,
Yeah.
right? You
Or
can't run
fight till the
20.
final day. And
Yeah,
they haven't done that.
you can't run 25 miles and then sit down. You have to finish the marathon. And you called it last year. I didn't think you would. I was actually on the side of like Arsenal actually, I think they're going to do it. And you were like, no, they always fall off. They always fall off. Where I think Arsenal, and I've said this for 2 or 3 years now, I think where Arsenal succeeded was they did the rebuild right. They rebuilt from the ground up. They didn't try to buy the talent per se. They did with Pepe. Look how that worked out. But ever since then, they did acquire Declan Rice, right? But they needed Declan Rice because it didn't work out with Guendouzi. It didn't work out with Torreira. And it Jaka, yeah, I guess you could say it worked out, but Jaka walked. So they definitely needed someone to come in. I think where Arsenal really I just think man for man, they don't match up with with Liverpool or City. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, there's no way.
But as a team, they do produce the results. So
Well, they beat City this year, which is great. 1-0. But they drew to Tottenham. Okay. They drew with Fulham. They beat Forest by 1. They beat Palace by 1. They beat Everton by 1. They beat. They crushed Bournemouth. They drew with Chelsea. You know, that City win is what they can hang their hat on right now. It'll be interesting to see what they do when they play against us. They lost to Newcastle.
Yeah.
They're beatable.
Well, so is
They
City.
beat Brentford 1-0. Yeah, but City.
And so
We
are
know
we.
what City can do.
And so are we. We're beatable. Every team has a Achilles heel.
I don't know if we're beatable right now. Like, yes, of course we're beatable. I don't mean to say we're like we haven't lost 11 on 11 in the league. We lost in the final minute of with 9 men
Oh, well,
in an awful officiated game.
Oh,
But we don't even need to get into that. But I think we are the hardest team to beat, but that does not mean that we'll win the league. We've been through this so many times.
right. We are the hardest team to beat. Why? It's just such a weird sport. We're the hardest team to beat, but when you watch us play, I'm like, we're so open sometimes. I'm like, we could have conceded 8 that game, but we didn't. And I think that comes down to Allison
And Anfield. Those are
and
the two
Anfield
X
too.
factors that will just never die.
Yeah. It's yeah, you're not wrong.
You know what's crazy? I don't see, and I know we're going to wrap up here in a second, but I wouldn't be surprised if Allison was our keeper for the next like 8 years.
No, and I think he's 31 or 30 now. But keepers are different. I mean, keepers can play a long, long time because it's not as you get older, you lose that explosiveness, but keeping is different. It's not you don't have to keep up with anybody. Your positioning, as you get older, you can adapt. I mean, you look at like Gigi Buffon, and you look at other players like the players in the Premier League that played. What's not Foster? What's his name? The dude who does all the podcasts. He played for like Watford. He played a long time.
Yep.
My point being is like I agree with you. I agree that Allison could definitely be our keeper for the next 8 to 10 years. And I don't think he wants to where no one else he's not going anywhere. Allison is the best keeper in the world right now. I mean, I don't think there's any denying that. There's other players who have better aspects to their game, but Allison, pound for pound, is the best keeper in the world. Would you agree?
It's not even in question anymore.
Yeah.
He's the best right now.
And that brings us to the end of the show, but
Ben Foster, yes.
Ben Foster. Okay. Ultimately, the result yesterday, I had this feel, and you saw Pep sweating the entire match. And when I saw, they kept flashing him, and he's just like biting his nails. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, why are you doing that? You're up 1-0, right? And you guys are clearly playing better than we are right now. But that's exactly why I don't coach in the Premier League, because Pep knew that Liverpool are just like late game goal scorers. He just knew. I mean, that it happens. And Trent just got it done for us. And, I'll always be thankful to Trent just because I don't know why I feel this way about him. I feel like he's not as good as people make him out to be. But when he's put in the positions to make offensive decisions, i.e. midfield distribution or forward and putting crosses into the box or shooting, I think that's where his quality really shines. And so, again, I think it's another instance of a player playing somewhat out of position, even though right back is his position. He wasn't born and bred to be a right back. And so, to me, I just think I need to appreciate Trent a little bit more.
Well, he's vice captain. I'd say I could argue that no one's got more passion for the club, for the city. And we know what he is defensively. But there was a couple times yesterday where they tried to cross the ball, make a diagonal, and he cut it out.
I did. Yep, you're
and
right.
we were on for the counter. It's not a lack of trying. And sure, you could say he's not good enough defensively. That's fine. I'm with you on that. But I don't know if anybody else was going to score that yesterday. Like, I don't know if anybody else has that. Maybe Soboslai, just
That's
that
the
quick
only other
touch and then
person.
just a really hard, low, accurate shot. Like the actual ability and the strength to quick touch. And by the way, Salah with the assist.
Yes.
Quick touch and then put it across goal against a world-class goalkeeper. Sure, there's guys that can do it, but in that moment to have the confidence to do it from right back, it's just huge. He saved us a point. He saved
Yeah,
us a point.
he did. He did. And that's why I said I think I need to appreciate him a little bit more, because whatever he doesn't do at right back, he definitely makes up for it. And now that he has a little bit more freedom to get into the midfield and push a little bit more forward, um, Ross says it only really benefits us. So, Steve, do you have any closing thoughts?
Mm, I'm happy with the point. I'm grateful for everyone that was here joining us today. Um, those games, for me, I've always said this, they're the most nerve-wracking games. It feels like a final every time we play them.
Yep.
I'm never confident. I'm always excited but nervous, and it's a draw, and it's all good, and we move on, and we still haven't been beaten by 11 men, 11 on 11. We still
That's
haven't
kind of
been beaten.
crazy.
I
Yeah.
mean, unless you count the Europa League, but who cares about that right now?
I I care about it a little bit. I mean,
Yeah, but we're
losing
going to be fine. There.
I hope so.
We know that.
I certainly hope so. We want to say thank you to everyone who came and watched the show. We always appreciate your support. Um, Scott Barkley, we'll end it here, but said once Salah was told by us Liverpool fans he's the assist king, he stopped running anymore. The defenders reached final third, and he only looks to pass, and that's it. That's just not true. I feel like Salah. We won't get into that, but
He's second in the league in goals.
yeah. But I think I know what he's getting at. But Steve, thanks for being here, bro. Looking forward to the match on Thursday. And until next time, Reds, take care.